Your lungs are not bags, they're trees. Two of them growing upside down in the dark behind your ribs, and they've been growing there since before you were born. Put a hand on your chest and breathe in. What just filled up in there isn't a balloon inflating. It's air pouring down a trunk and racing out through thousands of branches at once. And by the end of this, you'll know why something an adult accidentally breathes in. A peanut, a bead, a sunflower seed lands in the same lung more often than not, roughly 6 times out of 10, the same side. That's not luck, that's architecture. Start where we left off. Air comes down past your voice box into the windpipe, that firm ring tube running down the middle of your chest. It goes down and down, and then it runs out of road. The tube hits a fork and splits in 2. One branch turns toward your left lung, one toward your right. Each of those big airways has a name. A bronchus, that's all the word means. A large airway. And then something happens that doesn't stop. Each branch splits into smaller branches. Those split again and again. About 23 times over, by the classic count, every single tube dividing into narrower ones until the tubes running through the far edges of your lungs are thinner than a sewing thread. Those finest twigs are called bronchioles. Little branches, some are 0.5 millimeter across, that's your bronchial tree. And nobody designed it to look like a tree. It came out that way because it's solving the same problem a tree solves. Think about it. One wide pipe can deliver air to exactly one place. That's it. But a pipe that splits and splits and splits can reach everywhere. And the further it goes, the more places it touches. A tree does it with sunlight. A river delta does it with water. Your lungs do it with air. So one breath doesn't go to one place. It becomes tens of thousands of tiny deliveries, arriving all over the inside of your chest at the same moment. Now, the room this tree grows in, your lungs aren't hollow and they aren't hard. A lung is soft, spongy, full of air and almost weightless. In fact, a healthy lung dropped into water will float. Pathologists have used that for centuries to tell whether a lung ever took a breath at all. And here's a detail people rarely notice about their own body. Your 2 lungs don't match. Your right lung is bigger, your left is smaller, and it has a curved dent scooped out of its side, because your heart is leaning into it. Your left lung gave up space so your heart could sit in the middle of your chest. Everything in you is making room for everything else. They're not smooth either. Each lung is split into rounded sections, like an orange in segments. Each section is called a lobe. The right lung has 3, the left has 2, again, giving up 1 to the heart. And the tree matches the room perfectly. One big branch feeds each lung, smaller ones feed each lobe, smaller ones still reach into every pocket in between. But here's what surprises people most. These tubes are not plumbing, they're alive and they move. Wrapped around the smaller airways is a sleeve of smooth muscle, and it can squeeze. When it tightens, the tubes narrow, and suddenly the same breath has to force its way through a smaller opening. That's the tight-chested whistling feeling you get, running in cold air or during a bad chest cold or in asthma. Your airways are changing shape on you, and they're cleaning themselves the whole time. The inside of every one of those branches is carpeted in microscopic hairs, and they are beating, right now, roughly 10 times every second, all leaning the same way. Above them floats a thin sheet of mucus that catches dust, smoke, and bacteria on the way in. The hairs sweep that sheet steadily upward, out of the tree, toward your throat, where you swallow it without ever noticing. It's an escalator. It runs in your chest all day, and the only time you're aware of it is when there's too much on it and you cough. Which brings us back to that peanut. Look at the fork closely, and the 2 branches aren't mirror images. The right one is wider, shorter, and it drops away far more steeply, almost straight down. The left has to angle around the heart. So anything that gets past your throat and into that fork tends to do the simplest thing an object can do. It falls straight down the steeper, wider side, the right. Which is why, when doctors go looking for something an adult has inhaled, they check the right lung first, and about 60% of the time that's exactly where it is. Though in small children, the fork is still fairly even, and it's close to a coin toss. The lopsidedness is something you grow into. You're carrying a forest in your chest, upside down, in the dark, splitting and splitting until it runs out of room, sweeping itself clean, flexing narrower and wider, and moving gently every few seconds for as long as you're here. You've never once had to think about it, and it has never once stopped.